The box came on a Thursday morning, while the coffee maker coughed and hissed like it was trying to warn me. Rain had soaked one corner of the cardboard, and Rufus, our old mutt, clawed at the back door hard enough to rattle the glass. I nearly left the package on the porch. Then my phone buzzed with a delivery mail addressed to my wife. She was 3 states away, helping run a medical conference. So I tucked the box under my arm, let Rufus in, and cut the wet tape with my pocket knife. I expected binders, brochures, maybe another stainless hospital mug. Inside was a small wooden urn wrapped in great issue. The brass plate held a name I had never heard. Beneath it, engraved clean and final, were 2 words that drained the warmth from my hands. Beloved husband. A folded invoice lay under the urn, from a funeral home in Kentucky. Paid in full, by my wife. I stood there listening to coffee drip into an empty pot, whispering, "No, this is just a mistake." 18 years is a long time to believe you know the sound of another person moving through a house. Marla closed cabinets with her hip, soft but final. She hummed when she paid bills. Never a whole song, just 2 or 3 notes from whatever old soul record was playing from the little speaker above the fridge. Al Green on Fridays, Gladys Knight when she cooked, Otis reading on rainy Sundays while onions softened in a pot. We were not a flashy couple. We didn't hold hands across restaurant tables or write long anniversary posts. We were quieter than that. Steady, I would have said, before that box came. I managed the West Branch of the public library, which meant copier jams, budget meetings, overdue notices, and retired men pretending they didn't need help finding large print westerns. Marla coordinated training for a hospital system, traveling between small cities to set up workshops for nurses and billing staff. Her black roller suitcase stayed half-packed in our closet, one bad while clicking whenever she pulled it down the hall. On our refrigerator, her work calendar hung under a peach-shaped magnet. Mine was beside it in blue ink. Board meeting, dentist, Malik Saturday. Malik was my sister's boy. She worked double shifts at a warehouse. So, most weekends he stayed with us, eating like the house owed him money and leaving socks under the coffee table. He was 12, all elbows and appetite, still young enough to fall asleep sideways on our sunken sofa with Rufus snoring against his legs. Marlon ever had children of her own. I used to wonder if that hurt her. Then I'd see her in the kitchen doorway, hiding a smile while Malik poured cereal like he was filling a horse trough. We are not made of milk. Young man, should say. You kind of are. The answer, lifting the empty jug. That was our life. Grocery receipts in a ceramic bowl by the keys. Late dinners because her rainings ran over and my branch closed at 8. Game show reruns murmuring while we ate reheated meatloaf. Her socked feet tucked under my thigh beneath an old blanket. Bills split clearly because we had both been careless with credit cards when we were young, and climbing out of debt had made us practical. Secrets start with overdraft fees, Marla once said, tapping a bank statement with her pen. I laughed then, but we lived by it. Joint account for the house, separate accounts for personal spending. No judgment as long as the lights stayed on nobody lied. That morning, after I found the urn, I stood staring at the refrigerator calendar as if those neat squares could defend her. Louisville training support, 3 days. Her handwriting, a little star beside Thursday for hotel checkout. I smoothed the supermarket receipt with my thumb. Apples, dog food, cough drops, dishwasher tabs, ordinary proof, ordinary marriage. Rufus nudged my knee for breakfast. The coffee maker clicked off. From the living room, the old playlist started again, horns rising warm through the silence. I looked back at the wooden urn on the table. For the first time in 18 years, our quiet house felt like it had another room I had never been allowed to enter. Marla came home just after 7, dragging her crooked suitcase over the threshold with that familiar clack-clack. Her raincoat smelled like wet pavement and airport air. She dropped her keys toward the blue bowl by the door. Missed, and they skidded across the mail. Lord, she said, rubbing her neck. I could sleep standing up. I had soup turning in the microwave because it was easy. And because my hands needed a job, the kitchen light above the sink flickered twice. Rufus pushed his gray muzzle against her knees, and she bent to kiss his head. "Long drive?" I asked. "Long everything." She gave me a tired little smile. Mascara was smudged under one eye. I almost waited. Let her eat. Let her complain about hotel pillows and bad coffee. But the wooden box had been sitting all day in the cabinet over the washer, wrapped back in tissue paper, as if that made it less real. "A package came for you," I said. Her hand froze on Rufus's collar. "From Kentucky." The microwave beeped. "Sharp and ordinary?" Marla flinched. "What package?" I went to the laundry room and brought out the urn. Not the wet cardboard, not the invoice, just the small wooden box, held in both hands because I couldn't make myself carry it casually. The color rained from her face. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. "It was delivered here. To you." She crossed the kitchen and 3 steps in snatched it from me. Her fingers clamped around the wood so hard her knuckles turned white. "Marla, you opened it." "I thought it was conference material." "You had no right. That hurt in a place I wasn't ready for." "No right? It came to our house." She set the urn on the counter, then picked it up again immediately. Like even our counter was too exposed. The soups had forgotten, steam clouding the microwave door. I kept my voice low. "Who is he?" Her eyes snapped to mine. "Dot. One question. It's hospital business." I stared at her. In 18 years, I had heard Marla dodge, soften, postpone, and protect. I had never heard her lie that badly. Hospital business doesn't arrive in a box engraved "beloved husband." Her mouth trembled once, then her face closed. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then tell me." "I can't." "You mean you won't?" She glanced toward the living room, then back at me, as if afraid the walls themselves were listening. "Do not touch this again. Do you understand?" Something small and clean cracked inside my chest. I reached for the mug by the sink, just to hold something. My fingers slipped. It hit the floor with a hard clap and rolled under the table. Unbroken. Neither of us bent down. Rainwater dripped from her coat onto the tile, making dark spots between my shoes and hers. "In asking as your husband," I said. Her eyes filled suddenly, but she blinked the tears back. "And am asking you to leave it alone." That was all. She carried the urn down the hall and shut our bedroom door. A drawer opened, then closed. When she returned, her hands were empty, and she wouldn't look at me. She didn't eat. Later, she took the old quilt to the couch. Around midnight, I stood in the hallway and saw her curled in the television's blue light, phone face down against her stomach, one hand resting over it like a guard. Rufus lifted his head from the rug. I stayed there in the dark, listening to my wife pretend she wasn't crying. The next morning, Marla left before I did. I heard the shower at 5:30, then drawers opening and closing with careful little clicks. She moved around our bedroom like a guest afraid to wake the owner. No radio, no humming, no kiss against my temple before an early drive. I stayed still until the front door clicked shut. Rufus went from his bed. "I know," I said into the dark. By 7, I sat at the kitchen table with the house insurance bill beside my coffee. The premium had gone up again, because apparently even a roof needed to retire rich. I logged into our joint account to check the balance before scheduling the payment. That was all I meant to do. I tell myself that because it matters, I didn't break into anything. I didn't guess passwords or open her private email. This was the account we both used for the mortgage, utilities, groceries, vet visits, the ordinary machinery of a shared life. Still, when the page loaded, my hand went cold around the mouse. There were charges I didn't recognize. Not huge ones. $78, $112, $46.50, spread across months, tucked between the water bill, Kroger, and Rufus's flea medicine, a funeral home in Kentucky, a lakeside motor lodge in Indiana, an independent pharmacy he'd never heard of, a courier service with a name that sounded like it should deliver printer cartridges, not whatever had arrived in that wooden box. I leaned back so fast the chair complained. Outside, the garbage truck groaned down the block, metal arms lifting bins and shaking them empty. A normal Tuesday sound. Men in neon vests doing ordinary work, while I sat in my robe feeling like the floor had shifted under me. The cereal box Malik had left on the counter stared back at me. Honey OS. Expired 2 months ago. Marla always noticed dates. She'd pour old cereal into her palm, sniff it, and say, "Your uncle is trying to poison us with bargains." I clicked one charge. The funeral home detail showed only the date, the amount, and the last 4 digits of our debit card, her card. I opened the refrigerator calendar and compared dates. Louisville Training Support, Purdue Canoe Higher Orientation, Evansville Billing Workshop. But on the hospital system's public training page, the dates didn't always match. Some sessions were a week earlier. Some were virtual. One trip she had marked with a blue star was not listed at all. Maybe the public calendar was incomplete. Maybe hospital schedules changed every hour. Maybe I was turning clerical mess into betrayal because one engraved phrase had split something open in me. I wanted those maybe yes badly. At work, the copier jammed before lunch. It made a grinding, offended sound, like it had swallowed a fork. I stood in the staff room tugging warm paper out in torn strips. Wild and East from circulation told me a patron believed we were hiding tax forms from him personally. "Give me 2 minutes," I said. "You okay, Glenn?" "Fine." She looked at my owner black fingers. "You don't look fine." I smiled the way men smile when they wanted or closed. "Insurance bill." That satisfied her. Money trouble is a language everybody understands. By 4, I had written the charges on the back of an old overdue notice. Funeral home, lodge, pharmacy, courier, dates, amounts. I folded the paper twice and put it in my shirt pocket, then hated the secret weight of it. When I got home, Marla's suitcase was in the hall again, half-zipped. The battery langled outward like a broken ankle. She stood at the sink rinsing a coffee mug that was already clean. "Long day?" I asked. "Long enough." Her voice was flat, but her hands were too busy. Scrub, rinse, turn. I glanced at the refrigerator calendar. She had added a new trip in black ink. Terre Haute. 2 nights. When did that come up? This morning. Hospital training? Yes. The garbage bin still sat at the curb outside. Lids open to the damp evening. Rufus scratched at his collar. Somewhere in the house. The old furnace clicked, but didn't start. I waited for her to say more. She didn't. There are silences married people know how to read. Tired silence. Angry silence. Peaceful silence. The silence that waits for an apology. This was none of those. This was a locked door. I touched the folded paper in my pocket and felt its sharp corners against my chest. I wanted to lay it on the counter and ask why our money had followed her to places she never mentioned. Instead, I said, "Do you want me to make dinner?" She shut off the faucet. For a second, with her back to me, Marla bowed her head like she was carrying something heavy and invisible. "No," she said, "I'm not hungry." Then she walked past me down the hall, close enough for me to smell hand soap and drained amp wool. But she did not touch my arm. Marla left for Terre Haute the next morning with one small suitcase and the black coat she wore when she wanted the world to leave her alone. I watched from the kitchen window as she backed out of the driveway. She didn't look up. Rufus pressed his nose to the glass until it fogged. "She'll be back," I told him. By noon, I had repaired the pantry handle, carried in the garbage bins, and folded towels that had been in the dryer since Sunday. Then I stood in the laundry room holding one of Marla's gray socks, rubbing the heel between my fingers, like it might explain her. The doorbell rang. Rufus barked once. Nobody came over without texting first. Not on our street. When I opened the door, an older woman stood on the porch with a canvas knitting bag tucked against her hip. She was small, white-haired, dressed in a neat navy raincoat. Mud dotted her sensible black shoes. "Is Marla home?" she asked. The way she said my wife's name tightened something in me. Not friendly, not formal, familiar, Like she'd said it in waiting rooms. No, she's out of town. The woman's mouth pinched. Of course she is. Rufus shoved his head between my knee and the doorframe to sniff her bag. She softened for half a second. Hello, old boy. You know my wife? I asked. I know of her. That landed wrong. In Dennis, I said. Her husband. She stared at me as if it'd become bad news standing in slippers. Oh, she said quietly. Across the street. Mr. Landry dragged a rake through wet leaves. A delivery truck hissed past. The ordinary world kept moving, which felt almost cruel. The woman adjusted her bag. I folded paper stuck out beside a ball of green yarn. I shouldn't have come. Wait. I stepped onto the porch and pulled the door mostly closed behind me. If this is about Marla, I need to know. Her pale eyes sharpened. Mead? People love that word when they want permission. Who are you? Evelyn Price. The name meant nothing, and that frightened me more than if it had. She glanced past me into the hall. At our coat hooks. The framed Lake Michigan picture where Marla was laughing into the wind. Evelyn looked at it too long. After all she did for his family. She said, the least she can do is come to the memorial. The porch seemed to tilt under my feet. His family? Evelyn's hand tightened around the rain bonnet she was holding. The plastic crackled. Who is he? I asked. You asked your wife. I'm asking you. And I've already said too much. She pulled the folded paper from her bag. For one strange second, I thought she might hand it to me. Instead, she pressed it against her chest like a shield. She promised things. Evelyn said. Maybe she had reasons. Maybe she always does. But some of us don't get to disappear just because grief becomes inconvenient. My throat went dry. Was she with him? I asked. The words came out small and ugly. I hated them as soon as I heard them. Evelyn's face flickered with something worse than anger. Pity. She was where she chose to be, she said. Then she turned and went down the steps. I followed her to the walk. Please, just tell me his name. She stopped by the mailbox. A strand of white hair clung to her damp cheek. No, she said. Names belong to the living until the dead are done with them. She crossed to a beige sedan parked 2 houses down. As if she hadn't wanted to be seen at ours. I stood in my socks while rain soaked through the cotton and watched her drive away. Inside, Rufus whined at the door. The house smelled of coffee grounds, dust, and Marla's lemon cleaner. On the porch mat lay a single green thread from Evelyn's bag. I picked it up. It was only yarn. But by then, nothing in my house felt like nothing anymore. Marla came home after 9, dragging her suitcase because the bad will had finally quit. I sat at the kitchen table with the overdue notice unfolded in front of me. No television. No dinner plate. Rufus lay under my chair with his chin on my shoe, as if he expected one of us to collapse. Marla stopped in the doorway. You're still up, she said. That surprises you. Her eyes went to the paper, then to my face. She set the suitcase upright gently, like a loud sound might finish breaking the room. I'm tired, Glenn. I bet. She flinched, and some ugly part of me was glad. I tapped the notice. Funeral home, pharmacy, courier, a lodge outside Bloomington, another near Terre Haute. All from our account. She took off her coat but hung it on the chair instead of the hook. That was when I saw her hands shaking. You went through the statements, she said. We share the statements. I know. That's all you've got? Rufus lifted his head. Marla's hair was dotted with rain. Little dark beads along the part. She looked worn down. Not caught exactly, but hollowed out. A woman came here, I said. Evelyn. The color left her face so fast I stood halfway up before I meant to. What did she say? Enough to make me feel like an idiot in my own kitchen. Marla gripped the chair back. Glenn. She said you were his family. Her eyes closed. The clock over the stove ticked. The one with painted lemon she'd bought at a yard sale years ago. Laughing because I said it was missing a screw. That memory hit me in the wrong place. Who was he? I asked. It isn't what you think. You don't know what I think. I know enough. No. My chair scraped hard as I pushed back. Rufus scrambled up. You don't get to lie to me, and then explain my own mind to me. I was lying to hurt you, but you were lying. She looked down. That silence did something to me. Not a snap. More like old cloth tearing slowly. Were you in love with him? Her head jerked up. No. Were you married to him? What? No. Then why is there a box in our house that says beloved husband? Why did you pay to move it? Why did a woman stand on her porch talking like you belonged to another man's life more than mine? My voice rose. I heard it, hated it, and couldn't stop. Marla wrapped her arms around herself. There are things I wanted to tell you when I knew how. 18 years. I said. You couldn't find 5 minutes? A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily. You think I don't know what this looks like? She said. You think I haven't sat in motel rooms staring at receipts, knowing if you ever saw them you'd build the worst possible story? Then don't hand me pieces shaped like betrayal. She inhaled. And it caught. For the first time, she looked at me as if I had struck her. I have carried something for you, she said. The words landed heavy and strange. For me? Yes. I shook my head. Don't turn this into some favor. I'm not. You're standing there with another man's ashes somewhere in this mess, telling me you did it for me. Her mouth trembled. Not his ashes. Not like that. I put both hands on the table. Then say one true thing. She looked toward the hallway, toward the bedroom, toward the life we had made out of bills. Dog hair, and ordinary nights. When she looked back, she seemed terrified. I can't do this in anger, she whispered. I can't do it in the dark anymore. The furnace kicked on, blowing dry heat over my feet. Rufus went in, pushed his nose into her hand. She bent to touch his head, and that small tenderness nearly undid me. I'm sleeping in the guest room, she said. Marla. She paused, hand on the suitcase. If you walk away now, I said. I don't know what's still here in the morning. She didn't turn. I know. Then she pulled the broken suitcase down the hall. Thump by thump, while I stood in the kitchen holding proof that explained nothing. I did not sleep. Around 3 in the morning, the guest room door opened just enough for the hinge to give that tired little sigh I kept meaning to fix. I was still at the kitchen table. Marla came in wearing the gray sweatshirt she had stolen from me years ago. Her hair was flattened on one side, her face bare and older under the sink light. In her hands was a shoebox from the walking shoes I bought her after she twisted her ankle in Milwaukee. She said it between us. I should have told you before we married, she said. My chest tightened. Before we married? She nodded and lifted the lid. Inside were papers held with old rubber bands, a faded hospital bracelet, a Polaroid of me in a bed, yellow, unswollen and nearly unrecognizable, and 3 envelopes with my name written in her handwriting. I picked up the bracelet. GLENNPORTER. The letters were almost gone. That was mine. I said, yes. From the accident? She sat down slowly. From the transplant. The word moved through me, like thunder before the storm breaks overhead. I know I had surgery. I said. I know there were complications. You know what we told you after? She said. What your sister-in, I thought you could survive hearing. The refrigerator clicked on. Rain tapped at the kitchen window. Somewhere down the hall, Rufus gave a sleepy huff. Marla unfolded a letter with creases soft as cloth. Your liver failed after the crash, she said. They didn't think you would make it through the week. This came from the donor network. No names at first. Just age. General details. I could not make myself read it. He was 36, she said. Married. 2 teenage daughters. He died from a brain aneurysm while helping his wife close their hardware store. I man locking a door. A wife beside him. Daughters waiting for him to come home. My life kept going because his did not. What was his name? I asked, though part of me did not want another name in the room. Warren Bell. I closed my eyes. Warren. Not a lover. Not a secret husband. Not the man she had chosen instead of me. A stranger whose death had become the reason I was sitting at my own kitchen table. The box. I whispered. His ashes. Marla said. His wife, Lenora, died in January. Their daughters are grown. But one is deployed and the other is in treatment. Evelyn is Warren's aunt. She's been trying to hold what's left of them together with casseroles, yarn, and a social security check. Every ugly piece I had collected rearranged itself in my mind. Funeral home, pharmacy, lodge, courier. Not romance, not betrayal. Paperwork, medicine, travel, grief. Why would you pay for it? I asked. Because after Lenora and I exchanged letters, she wouldn't take money. She said Warren had already given enough. Marla swallowed. Later she got sick. Bills piled up. I started with grocery cards, then prescriptions, then motel rooms when I had to help Evelyn with forms and appointments. And you kept it from me. Yes. Why? She touched one of the sealed envelopes, but did not hand it over. Because you were already carrying Marcus, she said. The name struck harder than I expected. Marcus, laughing in the passenger seat. Marcus, who did not leave the wreckage alive. You used to wake up apologizing. Marla said. To him. To me. Two people who weren't there. Then one morning you asked for pancakes. A week later you joked with the nurse. You started making plans again. I thought if I told you another family was grieving while we were buying patio chairs, it would put you back in that hospital bed forever. That was your choice to make. I know. She said it so plainly my anger had nowhere to go. The furnace kicked on, pushing warm, dusty air across the floor. Rufus wandered in, nails clicking, and rested his head in Marla's lap. She stroked him with one hand and kept the other on the shoebox. The memorial is Saturday, she said. Lenora asked for me before she died. She wanted the ashes kept safe until both daughters could come. I looked again at the Polaroid. Marla sat beside the ruined version of me, her cheek against my arm, eyes open like she was guarding a door. For 18 years, I had thought she saved me by staying. I had not known she had also been standing watch over the people who lost what I received. I accused you, I said. Yes, I made it dirty. Her eyes filled. You were scared. That doesn't make it right. No, she said. It doesn't. She slid one envelope across the table. The first letter I wrote you, she said. The one I never gave you. I did not open it. Not yet. I only put my hand over it. And beneath my palm the paper felt thin, fragile, and alive. By morning, the rain had stopped. The kitchen smelled like cold coffee and wet dog. Marla had fallen asleep sitting up across from me, one hand still near the shoebox. As if the truth might crawl back inside if she let go. Rufus lay at her feet, his gray muzzle twitching in a dream. I sat there until daylight, then the window, unread the letter she had written 18 years earlier. It was dramatic. That almost made it worse. She wrote about the machines beside my bed, about my sister rubbing the same spot on her jeans until the denim went pale, about a young woman from the donor family standing in the hallway with both hands around a paper cup, unable to come closer, unable to leave. Then, one line stopped me. I am scared that if you live, I will spend the rest of our life deciding what parts of the miracle you are strong enough to know. I folded the page along its old creases. When I stood, Marla woke fast. Frightened. I'm not leaving, I said. Relief moved across her face, but it didn't settle. Not yet. I filled the kettle. My hands shook setting it on the stove. For a while we moved around each other like strangers who still remembered the same dance. She took down 2 mugs. I wiped a clean table. Rufus sat between us, hopeful that grief might involve toast. I need to say something, I told her. She nodded. I had reasons to be scared. The box. The bills. The way you shut me out. I gripped the back of a chair. But I chose the ugliest answer because it hurt less than admitting I didn't know my own life. Marla looked into her mug. And what I said to you. I went on. About another man. About making it dirty. That was cruel. A tear fell from her chin onto the sleeve of my sweatshirt. I did lie. She said. Yes. I kept deciding for you. Yes. She gave a broken little laugh. I hate that word. I know. The kettle began to whistle, thin and sharp. I turned it off and stood with my back to her. One hand on the counter. The scar under my ribs, the one I had trained myself not to notice, seemed to pull tight. I don't want to be protected by silence anymore, I said. I don't know how to stop all at once. Then we learn. She wiped her face with both hands. I called Lenara's daughters last week. They know you might come Saturday. If you want. They know you might not. The thought of entering a room full of people who had lost someone so I could keep breathing made my knees feel hollow. I want to go, I said, but I don't want to make it about me. You won't. You don't know that. Her smile was tired, but real. Glenn, you hate when waiters sing happy birthday. I think you can manage not giving a speech. The sound that came out of me surprised us both. Not quite a laugh, but close enough to hurt. Later, we carried the shoebox to the bedroom together. She set it on the dresser. Not hidden, not displayed. Just there. Part of the room now. I changed the sheets in the guest room while she stood in the doorway. You don't have to sleep in here tonight, I said. I know. But if you need to, I understand. She nodded, then stepped in and took the pillow from my hands. We made the bed in silence, each taking a corner, pulling the wrinkles smooth as best we could. It was such a small thing, two tired people straightening fabric. But after a night of broken doors inside me, it felt like the first repair I could believe in. Saturday came clear and cold. I ironed my black shirt twice because my hands kept putting wrinkles back into it. Marla stood in the doorway, hair pinned with the silver clip she wore for funerals and hard days. You don't have to speak, she said. I know, I told her, but I need to show up. The memorial was in a church community room with folding chairs, foil-covered casseroles, and coffee cooling in paper cups. The wooden box sat in a patch of winter's sun beside Warren's picture. He was wearing a fishing hat, smiling like someone had just said something foolish and perfect. His daughters came over together. I had practiced in the car, but every sentence felt too large and too small at once, so I placed my hand over my chest and said, "Thank you." The older daughter squeezed my shoulder. The younger one nodded, eyes shining. Nobody asked me to explain what I had done with the life their father left behind. Marla cried beside me. I waited until her fingers brushed mine, then held on. Afterward, Evelyn sent us home with macaroni casserole and lemon bars wrapped in napkins. People need to eat, she said, as if that covered grief, grace, and every clumsy kindness. That night, Marla and I opened the first letter she had never mailed. Her handwriting was small and scared. She wrote about hospital machines, my gray face, and a family somewhere being asked the worst question of their lives. One line stopped me. I don't know how to be grateful without feeling like a thief. I should have known this part of you, I said, and I should have trusted you with it, she answered. We started counseling the next Thursday. No miracle, no swelling music. Just two tired people in a beige room learning that silence is not the same as protection. Weeks later, at the library, I made a new card for a boy getting his first account. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight warmed the counter. I thought of the wooden box, no longer hidden, and of my heart doing its steady borrowed work. Then I stamped the card, handed it over, and went on living.